organizing committee the ability to bring events like this to all of you. I give a special credit to Yafa and her incredible energy and enthusiasm, not only for art, but for Cornwall. That's pretty much all I can say. Thank you, Yafa.
Thank you, Richard. Thank you, everyone, for being here with us. We're doing this as a group, we're a team, and we're growing because we're together. And I would love to as well welcome everyone, of course, and Virginia have been with us, and Linda, Rose, everyone. Thank you so much for joining. And if you want to share this experience with us, of course, you're welcome to ask questions. You're welcome to tell us how you feel about being, you know, sharing some taste of art, especially we're in our third lockdown. And I would love to welcome Jane. Hi, Jane.
Hi.
Hi. So we're honored to have you today. Thank you for accepting the invitation and being here with us. Jane, we know you in a way, but we would love to hear from you more about yourself. If you want to introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about your journey. How did you start? When you came to Cornwall? What about the art experience you had and you're having at the moment in Cornwall?
Okay, so really a lot of my life has informed where I've come to today, because I had 3 artistic lives. I started out as a professional dancer, became a dance teacher, and then overlapping with that, I started to do art and became an artist. So I thought, rather than trying to piecemeal my life together, I've made a little video, which takes me from age 7 all the way through. The early parts of it, where I had a lot of ill health and loved animals, loved people from all over the world. I had a little bedroom in the final house of my growing up. My parents said, you know, this is your bedroom. First time I had my own bedroom. You can do what you want with it. And I proceeded to cut out from all these magazines pictures of people from all over the world. And I stuck them all over it was like floor to ceiling, all around my bed. And I'd lie in bed and think about all these people and their experiences. And it gave me a lot of joy. So that informed a lot of what's coming. So I thought I'll do the dance part on this video, and then it sort of starts to go into the art bit, and then we'll stop that and maybe have some questions. And then Yafa will show another video, which was when I had an exhibition at Corridor, when Rose was involved, that deals with all the art that kind of inspired me way in the beginning from Nunavut. So I hope that works. And we're going to try and share screen. Can you see my screen?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. So it's working?
Yes.
All right, because I can't see anybody else, but that's fine.
Wow. That's an amazing video.
That's just a
Thank-
quick look through my life.
It's amazing, full of information and great memories and full of life. So we're going to open the discussion for now. So if you please feel free to ask Shane, because it's not only, we're not here to make it just an interview, it's to get closer to the artist. So we have a chance to be talking and asking questions and making this live, right? So feel free to ask Shane questions, and who's curious to know more about her life and her art.
I just want to say that I was really struck by how many people's lives Jane has touched. When I looked at all of those photos and all of those people that you taught to dance and through your faith, and it really is amazing, Jane.
Thank you. Well, I feel very blessed to have landed up here in Cornwall, because I've met so many nice people and nice families. And, you know, when you come to a new place, for me, it's always tremendous excitement, actually, when I break new ground and come to a new place. And then deciding what to do and finding a place to set up the first ballet studio, which was in the old YMCA on 5th Street. And I didn't have a car, so I had a shopping cart, and I used to put my my tape recorder and all my tapes and everything I needed. And I'd walk.
Sorry for that.
The dog is joining us. And I'd walk up and teach for a few hours and then come back, because we just had a little rented place here in Cornwall. And at the same time, I was teaching in Gatineau at l'Académie de Danse de l'Utoé, where I taught for 8 years. So it was very much commuting on the bus, going from one house to the other, teaching here 1 day, 2 days, and then back to Gatineau. Until one winter I skidded off the road and I said, that's it, I can't do this anymore. And decided to put all my eggs here in Cornwall and taught 4 days a week in Cornwall at the studio. And yeah, it's been a wonderful experience. Yes, Kathy.
Me? Okay. Along the same line of thinking, I'm just curious, why Cornwall? What made you stop here?
Well, you know, the name attracted me because my dad's from Cornwall, Devon area. So I spent all my holidays in England in Cornwall. But I am a Baha'i, and the community here was needing a little bit of fresh blood. There weren't too many Baha'is here. And we had no real ties to Ottawa. I think since we were evacuated out of civil war, we've been there 3 years. And I had just started like small classes for special people. And so we decided, well, you know, why not? There's nothing tying us to Ottawa. We really prefer smaller places. We like the countryside. So we drove down and looked around and liked what we saw with another family. And I got my first apartment on Sydney Street, at the bottom of Sydney Street, near the mall there. It's a big, tall building now with different apartments in it. So we were in the basement of that apartment. And that first summer, they were still doing Festimonde. You remember Festimonde?
A week?
So it was a big festival where they had people from all over the world come and dance in this huge tent in Lamro Park.
Yeah.
So I volunteered for that. And so they came back and said, well, we have 6 teenagers from Taiwan who don't have anywhere to stay. And I said, well, I've only got a 2-bedroom apartment, but they're very welcome to stay there. We'll just put mattresses on the floor. And so I had these girls for, I guess it was a week. And I was responsible to walk them down to the park for their rehearsals and bring them back again and take them for their performances. And they were really a sweet bunch. And they used to write to me, you know, after they left. And then from there, we moved to a really small apartment, a 1-bedroom, because I was still commuting. And because I had a day I think it was the day before, yeah, I was teaching one day and then I had a day off, and then I used to get the bus on the Wednesday, and I knew that Alan Bain was teaching art classes in the Navy Vets, which was on 6th Street. So I was very close. So I'd walk over there and spend a couple of hours painting there. So that kind of got me going. And yeah, so continued commuting. And then finally we moved to Cornwall full time and decided we needed a bigger place, and got the house where we are now on 4th Street, which has been lovely. It's got a lovely feel to it. We really love being here. And I do most of my painting in the kitchen where I'm sitting right now, or in the front living room on a little table there. And I should get to 125 Pitt Street more often. And that's my new resolution. Once COVID is, less stringent, I must get over there and paint too. But
Well, Elaine and Jane, I think we're fortunate you did choose to stay in Cornwall, and we've been enriched all this
thank you.
time with all your talents shared with us.
I think it's a dual thing, isn't it? You meet people and you get so much from their experiences, and I guess they get some from yours. And I just love teaching dance here. I was 17 years I was teaching, well, not at the YMCA. I moved then to Fullerton's, above Fullerton's, where it used to be the literacy people, I think. And my husband had a learning center up there. He wanted to downsize, so he moved down the hall and I moved into the big space. And that's where that studio that you saw was. And that was just great. That worked really well. It's downtown, it was easy access. And then we do a show once a year at the Oatsville Hall, which I always loved doing, because it was very much for the parents and their children and their friends. And then in 2017, I decided to retire. And so that show, we did it free for the whole audience. Neil said, you should give them a gift, we'll do it free. So I said, okay. So we did that. And then I've continued with the painting and had these wonderful experiences going to all these craft fairs all over Ontario and Quebec, and meeting a whole lot of more new people and all these beautiful artists that you see here on the screen. So yeah, it's been an amazing journey.
Thank you.
More questions, and of course feel free to continue talking, because this is an open discussion, and as we're all adults, so just feel free to just raise up your hand and continue. And I'm super happy, Jane, that you give us this chance to ask you more questions about your art and your journey here. I will keep muting myself as my dog is getting a little bit tense, but please, you continue the discussion.
I think that's Kathleen. I think Kathleen has her hand up.
Yeah, I was just wondering, obviously, apart from Cornwall, what was your time in your life where you really were really happy wherever you were? I'm just wondering, we can all go back to a time where you sort of go, you know what, that was such an amazing time,
I've always been actually quite a happy person. I'm quite content. I feel that wherever you go, you make that your home. And
yeah.
But I think when I was 7 and I got tuberculosis, I was in hospital for 3 months, and my mother was in a sanatorium and my father was in Egypt teaching. He had to go to a teaching job because it was after the war and work was very scarce. That was probably a sad time because I didn't know why my parents weren't there. A few friends would pop in, but 3 months in a hospital.
Yeah.
But from there, we went to Cyprus. So my dad got a job from Egypt in Cyprus to teach mathematics in the same school, but in Cyprus. And that was a really happy time because, well, we were reunited. I learned to swim. So every day I was in the sea. And
Wow.
my sister, who had a great interest in art even then, met a Danish woman, Vicky Vass, who used to do plein air painting, and we'd go out with her on these amazing picnics while she painted all day. Yeah, that was a really great time. And then, of course, EOCA happened there. There were curfews, and we were we had to leave and go back to, supposed to go to Turkey, didn't work out, went back to Britain. And then that was my love affair with animals. I had all these different animals, rabbits, guinea pigs, turtles, and I used to breed them for a pet shop in the town near us. And then I would take people's pets when they went on holiday. And all that was leading up to going to this Russian ballet school. I wasn't very happy at school, not a very academic person. And my parents, and somebody had come, this young woman used to come from London, from the Vakani Institute, which is the Cecchetti method of ballet. She'd come once a week, and I was just smitten. Even though I was 14 at the time, I just thought, wow, I love this. So my parents said, okay, we've heard about this Russian ballet school, which is about 20 miles away. Do you want to go and audition there? So I said, yes. And they said, well, if you get in, you have to stay there. You can't decide to go somewhere else. So I went. I had two student pilots, one in front and one behind. We did a class together, and Madame Legat, who was a Russian who ran the school, who'd escaped from the revolution, who'd been in Paris and then came to England, accepted me. So for 3 years I studied there. And then when I was 17, got my first job in pantomime in the north of England with this very, very funny duo. If you're British, you'll know them. They're called Morecambe and Wise. Maylise is nodding. They were so funny. So I was a dancer in that show, and I had a little part with them doing a skit because it was Sleeping Beauty, and I was a courtier with a big wimple. And I had to walk in a dream state towards the end of the stage where the orchestra was. And I had to, make it very real. It had to look like I was going to actually step and fall into the pit. And Morecambe had to come and just sort of whiz me round at the last minute so I wouldn't fall off the stage. And I was always a bit scared he'd forget. But I never did fall in the pit. It was okay. And then from there, I went into a summer show, which was on the end of a pier. In Britain, you have, in coastal cities, you have these piers that go out to sea with a theatre on the end. And so we did a show there that changed every 3 weeks with a different theme. And I danced there all summer. And I think I also took a lunchtime job washing dishes just to get some more income. And from there, I went into the Harlequin Ballet Company, which was in London, auditioned for them. They took me as a student member, and then that was an amazing 3 years touring all over Britain, Scotland, England, Ireland, and Wales. And then from there, one more pantomime in Croydon with Cyril Fletcher. And then we emigrated. I got married, had a baby, and we emigrated to Canada and landed up in White Rock, BC. And I found an English woman who trained in London at the Arts Educational School, who had a ballet school, and she said, look, I'll train you to teach. So I took classes in exchange for teacher training. And eventually she opened another school in Tawassum, which was another little community, and I taught there. And then from there we went to Chilliwack, because I kept having babies. So this was kind of respite. Did a musical, Fiddler on the Roof. I worked with a young woman who was a nurse and a dancer, and she'd had a terrible accident and was a paraplegic. And I met her in her husband's art gallery, and she said, I've taken on doing choreography for Fiddler on the Roof, and now I'm really scared, because you have to, for these musicals, you have to follow what's been done before. You can't just make it up. So I said, look, I'll be your feet and we'll work together. So we worked on a cast of 60, I think, and we did that production together. That was wonderful.
Wow.
And then we went to Africa with all the kids. You saw that picture there. So we asked the children, what do you think? And of course, they're quite small, but James was 11 and he thought would be a big adventure. So I said, okay, I'm sorry, you're going to have little garage sales and sell all your toys. And then when we go to England, you get some new ones, just a few, because we only, we had a baggage allowance. And so we went to Africa. We were there 15 and a half years, and I started a school in the cultural center there. And then in this club called the Bongi Rock Club, and also in town, because I felt the Bongi Rock Club was, there were all nationalities there, but it was expensive. And I wanted a place where just locals could come as well. So that continued for a long time, and very frightening the first year because I had 130 students. I had very little French, and all these mothers would come and gabble at me very fast, and they had accents from all over France. So it was really hard. I'd sort of nod and smile and get 1/3 of what they said. But I did ask a lady to come and sit with me every day, and I'd go through phrases that I used when I teach. So I'd have those down. And then, of course, the language of ballet is in French, so that helped. Then I moved it to my home. So the studio in town and the studio in the club came together there. And that was interesting because I had a couple of instances of racism there, and I just stamped that out and said, look, not in my home, you don't do that. So that was going on. We were just ready to do a show. I'd just given all the costumes out, and then Civil War broke out. And within a week, with gunfire and everything, all hell breaking loose, we had to finally go. So we left everything. Got into a convoy, went to the airport with the French army, evacuated to Paris, where we met with the French embassy. And then they said, where do you want to go? We said, Canada, and we went back to Canada. When they evacuate you, it's not free. So basically you get to Canada, they take your passport away, and when you can pay everything back. So we were 3 coming out, you get your passport back. And happily, my uncle, not happily, unhappily, he died, but he did leave me some money, and I was able to pay that off. And yeah, and then worked in Ottawa, teaching ballet, and got the job in Gatineau, and then we moved to Cornwall. So that was 1999. Yeah, we've been here ever since.
Quite a life.
Quite a life.
Yeah.
Jane, how many children did you have? Can you hear me? How many children did you have in that 1-bedroom apartment in Cornwall?
Oh no, they'd all grown up.
Oh, they'd all grown up. Okay.
Yeah.
I was gonna say I thought so, but I wasn't.
Yeah, no. And the Taiwanese children, they were just an added bonus.
They were an added bonus, right? So Jane, I just wanted to, so when I first moved to Cornwall, I've only been here 5 years. When I first moved to Cornwall, my real estate agent, the first gift I ever received in Cornwall was a Jane Macmillan card. And my realtor she had so much of your things. She has passed away. That was Sherry. And she had passed away, but you were like her absolute favorite artist. And so you were like the first thing I learned about when I came to Cornwall. It was like, look, and it was I still have the card. It's actually tucked away in the other room, so I still have it. And she would always bring me a Jane Macmillan, with a Jane Macmillan card or something. And every time we would go to a craft show, she'd always buy something.
Oh,
She
that's
just,
very
I know,
sweet.
it was
Thank you for
fun.
sharing that.
Jane, do you think it's time to go to see your video, the second one, and then we continue our
Sure.
discussion? Okay.
So just before Jaffa starts that, this was 2005. We went to Nunavut to do some community work there. And so this is sort of where this is coming from. Anyway, I'll let you play it because I talk quite a lot on it, so you'll get the idea. And yeah.
Thank you, Jane. Here we go. And tell me if you can hear.
In 2005, I made a trip up to Nunavut, which really changed my life. in terms of starting to paint. I spent 3 months in a little island called Cape Dorset and just absolutely loved the tundra, the paysage, everything about it, the people. I walked around every day and I think I got to know every rock in that place and slowly started to paint, and this body of work really came out of that visit. Yes, so a lot of these are views of Cape Dorset. This one was called RC Valley, and a lot of the carvers lived in this part of the town, and I would walk up there a lot. This particular view was from the kitchen of the house that I was staying in. When we arrived in June, the ice was still on the sea, was just starting to melt a little, and the little boats there were frozen into the ice. A year later, we went back in the summer, and we were privileged to take a fishing trip with my friend Christina, who's Finnish, and her husband, who's Inuk, Timoon. And we went up the Davis Strait to this very low-lying river where the Arctic char spawn. And we spent the day there, and as they caught the fish, Christina was filleting them, and as she threw the remains down onto the rocks below, different Inuit families would come along and take out the eyes with their ulus, which is a woman's cutting knife, and they would feed them to their children. These boots are called kamiks, and they're individually made by the women. And the elder explained to me how in the olden days, because they wore them a lot more then, although some people still do now, they had to make them very, very, very carefully. And their stitching had to be very, very precise, because if they didn't sew the boots correctly, their men would go out hunting, and if water got into the boots, of course, they would suffer dire consequences. So their sewing had to be very, very, very good. And I used to attend sewing classes at the community centre, and I was making a little amauti, which is a woman's garment that goes over the top that they carry their babies in. And she made me do it 4 times, the hood of this amauti, because she said, it's not right, you have to get it right. So I had to unpick it 4 times, and then finally I got it right. These are paintings of 2 things that were found. My friend Baji had dug this clump of flora out of the ground and had come into the house with it. And I said, that's gorgeous, I have to paint it. So this is nodding saxifrage and nodding campion and all the moss attached to it. And 2 years later I went back, and that is still in the house. It's dried now, but it's still there. This is a vertebrae of a whale. You can find bones on Cape Dorset. We're allowed to pick them up, and I actually had a huge collection of bones by the time I returned south, and I found that intriguing, so I painted that. Our next door neighbour, Jimmy, he was the manager of the print shop. There's a lot of very fine printers and carvers in Cape Dorset that are very well known. Anyway, he had this amazing collection that I could see from the kitchen window as well. Caribou horns, whale vertebrae, all kinds of bones. And I used to find that just wonderful to go and look at. I think there's also a lobster pot there somewhere. This cairn is high up on a hill, and it's actually just beyond RC Valley, the other picture we saw earlier. And it marks the entrance to Cape Dorset, because the Davis Strait comes by Baffin Island, and then Cape Dorset is down in the inlet here. And it was just a marker so people could see where to bring their boats in, because the landscape is so much the same, it would be difficult to know where to enter. This painting I actually took from a photograph. It shows an Inuk lady with her child, and she's wearing what they call a summer amauti. And you can see here in the hood there's a little bulge. That's a little baby that's traveling in there, and they were literally right down inside the hood. In the old days, instead of diapers, they would put moss here. So if they peed, it would go into the moss and they could change it. The babies are very snug in there. It's a double hood. And sometimes when they wake up, they'll come up and you'll see their little head behind the mother, just inside the hood there. And little boy is wearing his parka. This is one I did later. It's of a muskox. I just really find them a very beautiful animal. And I love the way the wind blows through their hair. It sort of sweeps off to the side. Jimmy actually gave me a photo of an iceberg one day, and he said, this reminds me of muskox. It was kind of tracked by the wind. Very beautiful. And they also, they really protect their young. They go in a ring if there's danger, and they put their young muskoxes in the middle. So in 2009, we had the privilege now to go to Bermuda and work there. This was the first place that we stayed. We stayed in a little apartment in this garden, and I called it Fagundo's garden because our friend Shirley, that was her name. So this is Philippe's house, and so here you can see every bit of roof is used. It has little ripples in it. The water drips down and goes through a little hole, and everything goes down under the house into a cistern. And the chimney pots are built like this. They're kind of unusual. Also in Bermuda, they don't allow telegraph poles and wires. So when you're traveling in the country, it really looks how it must have looked in the 18th century, 17th century, because you don't have all these advertising billboards and wires all over the place. It's very, very pretty. In 2010, we went back again, and we stayed in a little cottage by Evans Bay. And every morning I'd go out and I would find things that were thrown up by the tide. So this is just, you know, a piece of wood, a sea urchin. This was some sort of stone. And then this basket used to sit on our veranda under the table. The people that rented the cottage were from France, and they had a lot of French chickens and roosters that they'd brought into Bermuda. But they loved this basket, and they'd get on top of it and they'd just scritch with their claws, I guess, to sharpen them. And they really liked the basket, and how it wasn't destroyed, I don't know. So one day when I was swimming in Evans Bay, I met a tourist as I got out of the sea. And she said, I heard this morning that there's a really huge octopus living just around the bay. And she said, we've been trying to see it, but we haven't been able to see it. They're amazing creatures. They adapt to whatever they're lying on. They camouflage themselves. And they also have a phenomenal short-term memory. This is palm peace. When we were on the island in 2009, well, there were a couple of hurricane warnings, but this one was going to hit the island. So we kind of hunkered down. And it wasn't quite as bad as they thought, but it was a pretty big tropical storm. And in the morning I went out and I found all these pieces of palm tree all over the ground. There were just hundreds of them. And I kind of found them quirky with all these things that stick out and the little nodes that are on them. Because it was going to rain all day because this storm was still passing, I just brought it inside and did that painting. I do have cards of all my paintings. People like to buy those. So if anybody wants to buy any of my art, if you can't afford a big one, you can always have a small one.
Beautiful.
Muted. Thank you for this amazing video. Really interesting. All this work. You are amazing, Jane. So, and big journey traveling.
Mhm.
Oh, I
And I
think,
love
yeah.
visiting these different places.
yeah, but we still, oh, sorry for that. My videos were still on. Here we go. So I was just saying that you have a long journey and lots of work you're doing. And I was wondering, Jane, do you think when you do this option that people can actually buy original big paintings you have been doing and also cards? Do you think this is like adding to the work, or maybe people will just, you know, get enough from the cards and then they will not buy the big ones? How do you feel about this options and selling and, you know, the market in art?
No, I think it's nice that people can, you know, buy something small if they can't afford something bigger. And it kind of lends itself to, I do a lot of art shows, so I go to different sorts of settings. So fiber shows I've been doing a lot lately because I've been, you know, drawing a lot of sheep and that sort of thing. So I go to fiber shows and I find that I sell both. I sell the paintings and the cards. But it just gives people the option. I mean, sometimes people have just come out for the day and they just want a souvenir. They don't want to necessarily buy a great painting. And you get to meet a lot of really nice people. Yeah, so different shows. There's one down in Prince Edward County, Fiber Fest down there. Of course, it's been suspended now for 2 years, which is a real shame. Where you get people from everywhere. And I sold paintings there as well as cards and bigger prints as well. So I just like the interaction with the people.
Yeah, actually, I got to feel the answer. I just wanted to confirm with myself that this would be your answer. So any more questions for Jane, please feel welcome to talk with the artist and ask her. I was curious to ask you in the spot, do you have work around you do you want to share with us? Or something that, you know, reminded you with the journey and inspired you? Because you're in your comfort zone now, you're in your house. So do you want to show us something that we couldn't see because we're not allowed to visit each other now? So we take this chance and, you know.
Okay. Well, if you'll bear with me, I'll just get a painting over here.
Yes, please.
I'll get Harold first of all.
It's interesting to be inside your place, right? And I think this is what makes a little bit the technology helping us not to feel separated or alone. So we're together.
Harold.
Harold, okay.
So Harold, I love him because I kind of had a love affair because of the fiber festivals I went to. Can you see him? So painted a lot of sheep and goats and things of that nature. And it's nice at the fiber fairs because people who come are usually people who knit or work with fiber and felt. So they like those paintings of sheep and goats and stuff like that. Shall I go and get another one? This is a still life. So this is a still life. I don't know if you can see it, it's kind of big. Maybe if you go to full screen. I don't know. But anyway,
Yeah, we are.
It's called Pots and Ulu. So an ulu, which is this, is a cutting tool that the Inuit ladies use. They use it to scrape skins, they use it to prepare their food. And this was actually given to me by an Inuit woman who wanted a painting done of her hut on the land where they go in the summer. And so we did an exchange. She gave me the ulu that she'd made at some teacher's thing she'd been to, because she promotes Inuit art all over the place. And then the pots, because I love pots. I kind of love ceramics. And if you were in my room, right above my computer here, I have all kinds of Mediterranean pots because I just love the color. And this is just a kind of a pick that I found. It's an old-fashioned thing, and I really like that. And these cutting scissors, piece of bark, a pomegranate. I just like putting things together. So I have a few like that. And okay, I'll just get one more.
Oh, thank you. This is nice to see your work around you. And even the kitchen and this painting in the back, it's really nice too.
This is a honeybee. And I just had so much fun doing that one. A lot of fun. So as you can see, I love animals. And I love natural things. So I tend to gravitate towards that. And more lately. And yeah, you probably saw in the previous video, there were animals there that were kind of coming out, and I really enjoy doing that. Yeah, and the sheep and the goats. And yes, yeah.
So are you walking? No, sorry, Robin, do you want to say something?
Yes, actually.
Yes, please.
The first video, it went too fast. I wanted to look at it again. Is there any way we can have a link of it to look at that video again? I didn't have time to read any of them, any of what the words that you had written, and it just went so fast that I would see a corner of one and then the slide would change.
Yes, no, and it was a bit of a problem with the timing. I could put it on my website.
I would love to look at it again and
okay,
take more time.
The website is www.janemacmillan.
I just typed that in and I've got the site up.
janemacmillan.com, but I have to get it up there. So
awesome, that would be great.
Yeah, no, it's been very. I feel very privileged to have met, to been up north and to met the Inuit. That actually was sort of kind of life-changing experience, and probably won't be able to go back again. Horribly expensive to get up there, but extremely rewarding. Because for 3 months I didn't have a car. I just walked around the community and met different carvers and artists, and children who I'd taught in the school, taught them folk dance, and they'd suddenly appear before me doing some dances that I'd taught like a year before. It was so cool. And yeah, it's like another world. And very different in Iqaluit to the smaller communities. Iqaluit's more, you know, obviously it's a sort of capital city, so you get a few more of the problems. But I had a friend there at Baha'i House, Beth McKenty. Her brother committed suicide, and she knew that in the north there was a huge problem with suicide. So she went up there and became caretaker of the Baha'i House there. And she would run art classes for the children. So at certain times they could come. She'd also give them slices of apple and orange and just make sure they had some food in their bellies, because sometimes they didn't get enough to eat. And that was an amazing experience too. We stayed with her for a week or two. And at Christmas, she would cook turkeys for all the taxi drivers. So she'd invite them all to the house, and this humongous turkey, I don't know how she got it in the oven. They'd all come and eat this turkey. But yeah, no, another experience being up there, just beautiful, and meeting all those artists who are carving and printmaking, and just an amazing place. Yeah.
So as we're going to almost the end of our hour visiting you, Jane, in your place, I would love to ask you if you're working in a project or a painting at the moment, these days, when we're we started the third lockdown, right, in Cornwall. So what are you doing in your time? You're doing a lot, I know. I just want you to share with us, please.
Well, I have a friend in near Portsmouth in the States. And she's a musician. She plays guitar and piano, but she was classically trained. And she was in Africa with me for a while. She's doing a project of all her songs that she composed while she was in Africa, because after she left the Central African Republic, she went to Cameroon and to Cote d'Ivoire, and she went to many other places. So she's asked me to do illustrations to her songs. So this is one, I don't know if you can see it. It's just simple pen and ink. This is called Angels of Fire and Snow. And it goes, I'll hold it up because then it'll make sense. Are you getting a whole screen there? Yeah, okay. So it says, angels, oh angels, angels of fire and snow. Were it not for your tears, you would burn in the fire of your love. Were it not for that fire, you would drown in your tears. Angels, oh angels, angels of fire and snow. Angels, oh angels, ye moth-like lovers of his light. Behold the moth as it circles the candle. It clings to the flame and dies. Beyond the candle as it gives life. It weeps its life away drop by drop. You fly, you weep, you die in your love. Were it not for your tears, you would burn in the fire of your love. Were it not for that fire, you would drown in your tears. Angels, oh angels, you are people of Baha. Oh angels, angels of fire and snow. Baha just means light. So she wrote many, many songs in Africa, and she's asked me if I would illustrate them just with pen and ink, just simple illustrations. So I'm working on that right now. And last year, she composed music, and a 9-piece set of music, which is very ambitious. And I did illustrations for that one, and she's printed that one. So this is the project I'm working on right now. So different songs. One that she made, they were in Paris for many years, and that one has the Eiffel Tower in the background. And anyway, I've only just started that. So that's my project now for the next little while.
Thank you for sharing. It's interesting, and I love your work, you know. So any more questions and discussions open to be connected with our amazing Jane, please feel free. We have like 2 minutes more. You can all just open your mics and let's talk if you want
I just
to.
unmuted myself.
Thank you, my Lise.
I am so happy. Jane doesn't live far from me. And full calendar as a Christmas gift. And here's
Oh,
what I
beautiful.
And I'm really fortunate because I deal with Jane a lot, and as Neil, her husband, writes for the Seekers. So Jane often does photographs for him too. So I'm very fortunate to know them both. And I've been in her studio a few years ago. It was wonderful. Yeah, Apples and Art, remember?
Apples and Arts, yeah. I think you've come a couple of times.
I have.
And I love Apples and Arts. I love it because you're in your own house. You can make a cup of tea whenever you want, and you just find all these people at your door, and it's lovely.
It'll happen again one day.
And I want to thank actually Focus Art. I know Rose was at the beginnings of that, because really it was them that encouraged me to, well, to show my art, because I was very shy to do it, and just encouraged me to come out and put something in a show, and that went on for many years, and I really thank you for that, because often as artists we kind of hide away, don't we? And
I'd like to answer Jane to that. I think, Jane, one of your greatest qualities is saying, yes, I'm going to try this. And you're a risk taker, but also my experience with you, especially with Le Corridor and the French Cultural Center, I just would ask you, oh, would you come with your dancers and come and dance for this little, or you would say yes. And I think that's why you're so well integrated into our community. It's something we can learn as artists, because you just said it, Yafa, we tend to work alone, but I think a good part of being an artist is also being out there in the community, because we are a little bit like the canary in the mine sometimes.
Yeah.
You know?
Thank you, Rose. No, there's lots of opportunity I found with Transition Cornwall. You know, they do different events and they always want artists
That's
to
right.
come and do something with the children. And that's been a great joy doing that. Incredible Edibles, or what's the other one? CD Saturday, all those different things they put on. And then you get to meet a whole lot of new people you never met before, which is always nice. Yeah.
And I would love to invite Linda if she wants to add something especially about what we're doing with the visit of the artist once a month. I think Linda speaks much better than me about the ideas. I speak more about how I feel doing the ideas. So it's, Zain, as you said, Rose, it's very good to work together. I feel this balance happening because we're different, and it's beautiful to be different. But it's amazing as well that we help each other to make this more like a circle, so we connect each other. We are here in the Art Hive, Cornwall Art Hive, blessed. We have each other. I'm so happy that the Art Hive is growing in the community here, and we're very close to each other. Well, we can't really see each other as much, but it's amazing how we support each other. Pierre have been with us, and Virginia, of course, and now we have Jane. And next month we're going to have an amazing artist. I hope he will be able to be, you know, expressing himself. He is Canadian. He have been traveling and he's back. So the Art Hive is welcoming everyone to be part of sharing the art and to continue being themselves, and in the same time expressing the difference, but being connected. So if Linda wants to add something about why we're doing this visit for a local artist in Cornwall, after you, Linda. I'm just trying to knock the doors to share more. And if Pierre wants to say something, how he feels about being part of the community, even if it's Zoom. Well, I know you don't really like Zoom now, Pierre. Linda, do you want to say something, my dear?
Your volume on. Put your mic on.
Yeah. Linda, please.
All right, I'll try. I wasn't prepared for this question, but I think what Art Hives meant to me was more about bringing people together, and art is just a medium, and we're also looking at not just visual art, but also in music and performance and any other kind of art form that we can come together. But our focus here at the Cornwall Art Hive is that we try to connect local people. Not somebody from, like Montreal or anywhere else. Just, we need to get to know each other. We are very fortunate to have so many, it's not, it's almost unlimited who we can invite every month. So, but we do try to mix it up a little bit. So next month we're going to have music. I also want to mention that Robin has agreed to be one of our presenters in the month of July. So we're looking forward to seeing Robin. I learned a lot. I get to know you. I thought I know Jane until today. I'll get some more about something very special about each one of us. So I really appreciate this opportunity to see everyone and learn more about you. I just want to say one more thing about Jane. I think, Jane, you're one of those artists I really admire, because you're not just painting pretty pictures that would sell or, have all the right proportion and color and all whatnot. Each and every one of your picture means something to you and touch you in some way. And I thought that those are really art. I appreciate that and appreciate you for sharing them.
Well, thank you for having me on Art Hive. I feel very blessed.
Thank you so much all for being here today with us. It was amazing. And please feel free to comment and build this connection in the page. We're growing together. And as soon as we will be able to get together, the Art Hive is going to be in maybe in a small circle or something, so we can see each other in person in a safe distance till we all get vaccinated, and we'll be fine. But till now, please stay in touch in the page and talk to each other and share your pictures, share what's happening, share your work. This is why the Art Hive is local, and this is why the Art Hive is growing when we are all doing this together, right? So thank you so much for being here with us. We're so blessed to have Jane with us today. Thank you, Jane.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Jane.
Thank you, Jane.
Thank you.
Nice to see you all.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sensei.
Yeah. Bye, guys.
Bye.
Bye, Heather's puppy.
Angus.
Angus. Lovely.
Angus.